Hello my dear friends and welcome back to another Star Wars news update. Yesterday we spoke about a new piece in Empire magazine about the Book of Boba Fett, but there is also an exclusive with Kathleen Kennedy where she talks about the Obi-Wan Kenobi series as well as hinting that the sequel's characters might return. Let's address each topic separately and then we'll discuss them. The brand new issue of Empire comes out on Thursday, and these articles which we've seen over the last 24 hours are simply just a preview. So let's begin with Obi-Wan. If there's one thing that got everyone talking on Disney Plus Day, it was the behind the scenes look at the upcoming Obi-Wan Kenobi series, bringing none other than Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen back to the Star Wars universe as Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi and fallen Padawan Anakin, or Sith Lord Darth Vader. Having starred together in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, the duo formed the central relationship at the heart of George Lucas's prequel trilogy. And as the footage teased, the upcoming show will catch them 10 years down the line from that fateful Mustafar battle, hinting that a rematch between the two is on the cards. And as I've said in the past, a lot of people are not happy with this. Some fans are saying that even if they make it coherent with the original trilogy, Vader and Kenobi meeting in this series makes their confrontation in A New Hope much less special, and will never be able to watch A New Hope the same way again. I'll let you decide that for yourselves. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But let's get back to this. So speaking to Empire in the upcoming Book of Boba Fett issue, Lucasfilm boss Kathleen Kennedy opened up about the emotional reunion of McGregor and Christensen on set as they slipped back into those iconic flowing robes. And then, my friends, we have a quote. "The thing that was most exciting was being on the set and watching the two of them get excited. They hadn't seen one another in a long time. I was surprised at just how incredibly emotional it was for each of them to find themselves back in these roles, and just realizing how important Star Wars was to each of them. It was the beginning of their careers." So a lovely sentiment shared there. Ewan and Hayden reuniting was an emotional experience for the two of them, and while Kennedy is talking about off-screen interactions and the excitement that the actors felt slipping back into their roles, there is no doubt that this will bleed into what we see on screen. The Kenobi series is already poised to be such an intense and emotional series, and I think if the actors' emotions are already in sync with how you would expect the characters to be, then this is definitely going to factor into the show. This is particularly true of Obi-Wan Kenobi, who at this time, 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, will still be grieving the loss of his friend, an apprentice who was corrupted by Palpatine and who transformed into Darth Vader. And let's not discount Vader's emotions either. The Vader comics did a great job at showing us Anakin's internal struggles even after he turned. Losing Padme haunted him, and so did the prospect of what he had become. I do hope we get to see more of this dive into his psyche at this point in the timeline in the Kenobi series. This show is the perfect place to show us how his internal turmoil and regret was truly destroying him. A larger part of it was the entrapment of being Darth Vader, not only physically, which was of course a living hell, but also coming to terms with everything he lost and now being the puppet of the most evil man in the galaxy. This topic could be an entire video in and of itself, and I truly hope Deborah Chow can depict some of that in the Kenobi series when it drops. So going back to the article, Kathleen Kennedy also brings up the subject of sequel characters. While Obi-Wan Kenobi is springing from the prequel trilogy and Rogue One prequel Andor bookends the original trilogy with the post-Return of the Jedi Mandoverse shows, it sounds like there may be more stories to come involving the crew introduced in the most recent sequel trilogy, which wrapped up on the big screen with The Rise of Skywalker in 2019. And then we get another quote. "Certainly those are not characters we're going to forget. They will live on, and those are conversations that are going on with the creative team as well. The Force is as strong as ever." I suppose that last little bit was not from Kennedy herself, but the Force definitely is as strong as ever. Now, that is where the article ends, and I'm curious to learn more on Thursday. I want to know if she gave any other hints or information about the post-sequel trilogy world and when that's going to be explored. Not only when, but also how. Are we going to get a fourth trilogy that explores Rey's story post The Rise of Skywalker? Is it going to be a live-action series, a standalone movie, or something that's not even going to be brought to screens, but is instead going to be novel material? We simply do not know, but I would speculate that a fourth trilogy or a spin-off live-action series for Disney Plus is the most likely. Regardless of if you love or hate the sequels, they made Disney a lot of money, and that is something which Mark Hamill has said is unfortunately the only thing that matters to these companies.
Hollywood, remember kids, it's not important if it's of high quality. only if it makes money.
Yes, tons of fans really dislike the sequels, and likewise, many people adore them, but eventually, no matter what your opinion on them, there were always going to be sequels to the sequels. It was simply inevitable, and was always going to happen one way or another. And in some ways you could say that it would be an opportunity for Lucasfilm to learn from the planning and writing blunders of the last 3 films, and make something much more consistent that actually treats the characters with some respect. While the sequel trilogy is my least favourite, it bugs me that so many wasted opportunities flew out of the window. One in particular is expanding Finn's story. There were some major hints in the sequels that Finn was force sensitive, and the prospect of a defected stormtrooper who goes on to later train to be a Jedi would be something quite epic. And while I don't particularly hold too much attachment to these stories, I would still be interested in seeing where they could take those characters moving forward, and how they could expand their stories into something that is much better than what we got last time. But to be honest, the big thing I'm really passionate and excited about going forward in terms of the future of Star Wars is the Mandoverse. I'm absolutely hooked on Din, Grogu, Ahsoka's future, Thrawn, Ezra, and so on. That is the storytelling that really gets me hyped. Favreau and Filoni have struck gold with these stories, and The Mandalorian has been the most authentic Star Wars of everything produced since Disney bought Lucasfilm. Don't get me wrong, I love Star Wars Rebels, The Bad Batch, The Clone Wars Season 7, but The Mandalorian is something else. It reinvigorated my love of this franchise like I haven't experienced since I was a kid. And I know for a fact that so many other Star Wars fans feel the exact same way, and don't take my word for it, the numbers speak for themselves. The Mandalorian has won a record-breaking amount of awards, while also breaking records for viewership numbers on a streaming service. At this point, it's a phenomenon, and I'm here for it. So, to summarize, I would be fine with a continuation of the sequel story, but the fandom is by and large way more excited for what the volume is being used for. Not only The Mandalorian and related shows, but also the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. So as I say, my dear friends, I'm curious to see what else Kennedy said in this new issue of Empire. I guess we'll find out in a couple of days, and as always, I'll be covering anything big that comes out of it. But now I turn it over to you. I want to know what you think. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. As Boba Fett says, please speak freely. But otherwise, my dear friends, I'm wishing you an amazing day. May the Force be with you always. I'm Star Wars Meg, and I'll see you tomorrow.